Hello. All right, awesome. We're live. Welcome to this live stream. If this is your first time meeting me, my name is Lauren Cercione. I'm a personal trainer, a transformational life coach, and energy healer. And in this live stream, I am going to share with you how exercising activates your masculine energy. So first of all, what you need to know is that my method puts together manifestation as well as getting smoke show hot. And your smoke show hot body is all about your internal fire where you are burning off everything that is not of the highest quality of your soul. So what I have figured out in my experience with health issues is that when we look at the food and our feelings and how our inner child is feeling, and then the adaptive mindsets of the inner child to be a perfectionist, to be a high achiever, to perform, to make sure that she has a connection, we see that play out in our experience with dieting. Now, when it comes to the masculine energy, it's so important for us to harness this very particular frequency. And a lot of people in the manifestation space are mostly talking about the feminine energy and kind of making the masculine energy a bad guy. And rightfully so in certain ways, because we have been focusing a lot on achievement and producing things, which requires a bit of hustle. But as the energy has been shifting, as our awareness has been shifting, that we might not have to work so hard to achieve our dreams, the masculine energy has kind of gotten a bad rap. But I am here to tell you that your masculine energy is the way that your feminine energy can come through, and you can actually have a very juicy, surrendered experience in your body and in your life. So I want to start with talking about manifestation for a very quick second. Frequency is the energy that comes out of your mind, and this is like the lighthouse that is shining out in the ocean so that the ship can come in. But the ship requires a dock, and the dock is your vibration, which is your magnetism, and that has to do with the emotional frequency of your entire body emanating from the heart. Now, a lot of us know about the aura, but the other word for aura is electromagnetic field. So the polarity that we have in our body is a combination of electric frequency of masculine and feminine vibration of magnetism. And we have to be our own daddy. We have to be the safe masculine container so that we can surrender into the process of having the physical transformation. So if we go back to the lighthouse analogy, our thoughts, our frequency is what is sending out the signal about the ship, AKA our dream body, AKA our desires, AKA our manifestations. Our vibration is the dock. We have to change the vibration of our body, our emotional state of our body, the connection that we have with our inner child in order to build something for the manifestation to come home to. So this is why I'm so excited about how I've put together eating and exercise with energy work, because as we focus our energy on eating and exercise, our body has the transformation, but we're getting our body into a regulated state, our nervous system into a regulated state. Because what is required to follow through with the eating and exercise habits is for you to to release the energetic resistance, the sabotage to success. Because success, the fear of success and the sabotage that happens with that is because the inner child is actually afraid of becoming everything that she was told was bad, wrong, not good enough, too much, should or shouldn't. So the fear of success is tied back to our inner child as well. So what I've discovered with making eating and exercise the place where we get to see our inner child patterns and her adaptive mindsets, that it makes the eating and the exercise way more meaningful. And when we apply this logic to the eating and exercise, our energy transforms and our life transforms. And so many people are missing the idea that you can't just diet and exercise to a particular goal in 3 months' time and then go back to everything that you were doing before you reach that goal. It's not going to stick. What we actually have to do is create a supportive lifestyle so that our body can function long term within the stress of your life. So, with the emphasis of eating and exercise to put our inner child emotions and her adaptive mindsets as the focal point to the actual habit, when our energy changes because of that, then we start to manifest a life that matches the dream body. So you're going to start to see relationships change. You might see some toxic relationships completely fall apart where you don't even have to deal with it anymore. You're going to magnetize people who resonate with you, who have the same kind of vision as you, who are into the same things, who really respect and honor you. You're going to have a lot less resistance in all areas of your life because you're choosing to focus on the inner child and her adaptive mindsets through your eating and your exercise. When I applied the healing tools, I had chronic migraines for more than 10 years before my cervical discs finally herniated. And then in 2020, I had severe inflammation that caused me to completely change my eating habits. And then also, like around 2021, I pretty much had my neck controlled, and being able to have a flare or a little bit of a twinge give me an indication of my unconscious emotional state, to where when I felt discomfort in my neck, I was able to process the emotions before going into a full flare. Well, in 2021, the pain stopped being in my neck and moved into my thoracic spine. So much so that I was not really able to move this arm. I had to like lift it with my other arm. When I went to the pain clinic, they're like, we don't know what to tell you. We'll just give you a couple of shots and see if the spasm goes away, and you'll have less pressure on your nerve and you'll get function back of the arm. Well, there's only so many cortisone shots you're going to be able to get. There's only so many surgeries you're going to have. Luckily, I've been able to avoid surgery. But my point is that there's only so much pills and injections that you can do to mitigate or like get rid of pain. But a lot of our pain is actually because of stress. And the other word for stress is emotion. And the inner child emotions are all unconscious. Well, not, they're not all. The emotions, the inner child emotions that cause our sabotage, that like we don't even realize what we're doing to undo all of our progress, or the reasons why our body feels tight or has tension or has migraines or has inflammation, those are all the emotions that are unconscious, that you can't identify by name. You can't explain or express how you feel. Your body is just doing the feeling for you. So these inner child emotions are so critical to our overall experience of life, but also to the experience that we have in our body. So what I want to share with you today about exercise and masculine energy is that this is the key factor in you being able to become magnetic. So when we have a polarized relationship, meaning that the electric polarity and the magnetic polarity are in balance, where one of them is giving and one of them is receiving, we have to figure out how to have that within our own system, within our own electromagnetic field, our own aura. That is the only way that you're going to be able to create the life that you want and create the body that you want. When we exercise, this is how we are activating the masculine energy. Masculine energy of the frequency of the electricity is the thing that goes out into the quantum field, where all of the subatomic parts that are mostly light, that have not manifested into anything, get a direction of what they actually should manifest as. So when we decide, this is what I want, this is like for me, I'm like, once I got healthy and I was like, well, what else do I want beyond health? I was like, I want to have broad shoulders. I want to have a tapered waist. I want to have a round, high butt. Okay, great. So what do I need to do to achieve that aesthetic? So just deciding what we want, that's an energetic frequency that's going out to manifest. And then when we commit to the thing that we actually have to do, the masculine doing and achieving part of it, when we commit to it and we follow through with it, now we're actually completing a manifestation cycle. Because first we had the idea, which was just the electric frequency going out of our brain into the field. Then so we decided, we have the vision, we decide, and decide means cut all other options off. So once you decide this is the body that you want, that means that there is no other option but for you to complete that. And the only way for you to actually make that happen is if you go and you do the workout, right? So you decide what you want and you do the thing necessary to get you there. So then by you doing, you are closing the gap on a desire. So by you doing what you want, by you aligning your action with the thought, then that's telling the magnetism part and the universe part and how we're in a co-creative relationship with the entire system of being on earth that you are actually the person able to handle your wildest dreams. Because if you thought about like a baby eating, if a baby doesn't have teeth and it barely knows how to suck and swallow, if you give it a steak, what is it going to do with the steak? It's going to have this little piece of meat that's probably tough and probably hurts its gums, and it's just going to gnaw on it and maybe even choke on it. So it's not ready to be a consuming something that requires teeth to mash down. So if you have these big wild dreams of what you want to create in your life and what you want to create in your body, but you do not do anything that is required of you, if you don't know what it's like to put in the effort, if you don't know what it's like to have setbacks and breakdowns, then it's like trying to eat a steak with no teeth. You're not going to be capable of being the person required to handle a really big vision. So when we use our exercise as a manifestation trigger that says, my frequency, my thought, my decision of what I want to look like, and then my follow through to do the things necessary to do, and then my emotional response to breakdowns and setbacks, that is building your emotional intelligence. It's building your ability to handle stress. And our bodies need to get better skilled at handling stress, especially right now in 2025, when there is so much up in the air, so much information coming from us from all directions, so much fear, so much scarcity, so much of the unknown. We have to get our bodies better equipped to handle this stress. So when we are thinking about how are we going to have our energy balanced so that we can have a nice ebb and flow of doing, achieving, thinking, envisioning, sending out the signal of what you want, and then you actually being the person that can handle that, when we are doing the exercise for the masculine energy, we're creating a container. We're creating a framework, a train track, literally a container for us to have the emotional experience. Because as you exercise, you're going to be tapping into emotions that are stored in your body. So you might actually have memories come to the surface as you're exercising, and they can be painful memories, and they can also be activations where you feel really inspired and empowered. Everything that you need to know is stored in your body. So when you're exercising and you're having emotions come to the surface, or you are recognizing some limiting beliefs that you might have, now it's up in the forefront of your mind. Now you just pulled it up out of the unconscious. You created a safe masculine container for you to be the surrendered woman and be led. What a lot of us are also suffering from in this day and age is a fragmented society and a fragmentation of partnership. And so it doesn't matter if it's same-sex partnership. What matters is that there is a dynamic within the relationship where there is polarization, where there is someone really taking the lead and providing the framework for the relationship to move forward, and paying attention to what's happening to the person who's more in the feminine role. Because when we have a polarized relationship, either with same-sex, where someone's a little bit more dominant in masculinity and someone's more dominant in femininity, or you are talking straight up heterosexual, when the masculine can step up, then the feminine can come in and be the nurturing and being the support and being the someone who's encouraging and appreciating. So what happens is when we have our masculine energy creating the framework, and we give ourselves in that workout that space to allow memories to come up to process, to allow emotions to come up that are activations that show us our power, then in the feminine aspect of it, we're able to nurture ourselves. Does that make sense? So doing the exercise, giving us that time to get in our body and feel the emotions is a way for the feminine energy to really start to circulate so that we can process it. When we're able to process our feminine energy, our emotions, then whatever type of resistance we have to following through with eating or exercise for our dream body, the resistance gets less and less and less and less. Because energy, wherever you're focused on it, it's still the same energy. It's just a different context. So the exercise portion of my program in the PHAT Life gives you that masculine container so that you can surrender. And the more you're able to be tuned in with your actions, with your masculine and your feminine energy, then you are a more magnetic, potent, influential, powerful, attractive human being because the energy is balanced. So it's really an incredible way for us to manifest. Now, what I wanted to share with you also is because I incorporate astrology and human design and the current revolutionary transits, if you didn't know, the transpersonal planets, the slow-moving planets that have more than a year in one sign of the zodiac, they are going into the same placements as the French and American revolutions. So what that means is we are in a power dynamic. Dare I say, struggle. We're in an evolution of consciousness where humanity is able to take a look at the current political infrastructure of rule over the collective to say, like, what's working, what's not working, what would be better. And so instead of us responding to what's happened in our political, economic, and food systems and war machine, instead of us looking at that and then getting angry at people who don't agree with us, what would be more beneficial for us to do as a collective is educate ourselves about what these planets mean. Because when you understand what the planets are, it's so easy. But like, we're going to have a planet moving into Gemini, and Gemini is all the information of the entire universe. And so just look at the onslaught of information that we're getting from our phones. There's information coming from all different ways. Like there isn't even one polarized, it's this, it's that view. We're now coming into multiple views of one subject. And so there's just a lot. There's just a lot. But that's just one example that if you know that the placement of Gemini is about all of the information in the universe, and we know that we have a big, expansive, transpersonal, collective planet moving into Gemini, it makes sense the amount of multi-information that we're receiving. So once you understand what's happening with these planets, and once you understand that, oh my gosh, time is cyclical, experience is cyclical, we are returning to the same energy as the French and American Revolution. What happened during the French and American Revolution? The people stood up against corrupt superpowers. So if we can have that mindset and we can form collective groups together, then we're able to decentralize the political powers, put the power back into our hand, and then over time, we're going to create the next society, ideally with a decentralized government. But that's the long term. That's the long haul of all of us getting back into our own lane instead of fighting with each other, looking to see, wait a minute, instead of us fighting, we should actually look at the top down that's actually causing these fights. So one of the reasons why I'm so excited about astrology and human design and why I incorporate it is because coming from my experience with repressed emotion that caused my migraines, that caused my cervical disc injury, I didn't have like an accident that made my discs ruptured. When I went to the doctor when that happened, he said it's kind of like a tire where eventually the tire will just blow out over time. And I'm like, okay, but like there's a lot of people that live into old age without any problems in their body. What is the difference? And the difference is emotions, because the emotions, especially as a boss babe, that are repressed from the inner child result in us being a perfectionist and a high achiever and a workhorse and not taking care of ourselves because we're so focused on doing things right to get the sense of connection on this unconscious level that we actually don't pay attention to our health. So it's like I think about this of my bone structure. If I had been more emotionally attuned to my inner child, I probably would not have had the mindset and the lifestyle that led to the eventual demise of my neck. When I was learning about these repressed emotions, and I was a very depressed person, and some of, like, internally, like most people don't notice because I could put on the face for the exercise for my clients. Like I could turn on the happiness for a 50-minute session, and then when I went and took my break in the bathroom, then like my energy came back to who I really was and my depression, and then when the next session started, turn on the face again. So I was really good at hiding it and really good at pouring all of my energy into work. But one of the things in my personal life that I would kind of get some feedback was like, you're so dramatic. Why can't you just be happy? Why can't you just get over it? But a repressed emotion that is stored in your body on an unconscious level is unidentifiable. So you can't just snap out of depression if you don't know what's actually upsetting you. So that's why in my system, I've made a system, including astrology, to pick away and like purposely trigger the repressed emotions so that you can work on them proactively and create your results faster. So I've really investigated the natal chart of the zodiac and key placements in human design to help us address the inner child emotions as well as her adaptive mindsets. So the placement that I want to talk to you about with the energy, exercise, and masculine energy is the Lilith placement. So Lilith is not even a placement, it's a mathematical calculation, and there is folklore that goes along with her story, how she was actually the first wife of Adam, and she had a conversation with God to say, hey, if we're made of the same substance, we're actually equal. I want to be treated as an equal. And there's different factions of the story that either God excommunicated her from the garden, or she ran away in sadness and adaptation, or she ran away and just created a new infrastructure of the world outside of the garden. And then there's others that say that she actually returned to the garden in the form of the snake to deceive the current wife of Adam, Eve. The point of this archetypal energy that is in all of our charts is that the Lilith placement really shows us how our outside of the box thinking ostracizes us, makes us other. So when I saw the Lilith placement and where it is in the natal chart and communicated this with my clients, their inner child, their childhood experiences made more sense within the context from the energetic perspective. Because when we look at our natal design or our human design and our natal chart, we're actually looking at our archetypal intelligence. And an archetype is a way that our brain is able to process primordial energy. Primordial energy is the energy that was in the beginning. It's the foundational energy. And Carl Jung was the first Western doctor to bring in this spiritual concept of archetypal intelligence into the Western world. So when we look at the archetype of Lilith, however she is thinking is outside of the box is how she is shamed or rejected. So when we apply this to our exercise and we apply this to our dream body, however you want your dream body to look, there is a judgment that immediately goes along with it, because you deciding what you want goes against the inner child adaptation mindset. Because the adaptation mindset of the inner child is, what do I need to do? How do I need to alter myself to get the connection with my caregiver so I feel safe and I don't feel threat? Because if we don't feel a connection with our caregiver, right? Because this is inner child. If we don't feel a connection with our caregiver on the nervous system primal level, it means death. Because if we are a child and we don't have somebody taking care of us, we will die. So on an internal primal survival instinctive level, disconnection means death. So if we have mindsets that say to ourselves on an unconscious level how we're bad, we're bad, we're wrong, we're not good enough, we're too much, we should be, we shouldn't be, we should have, we shouldn't have. If that is our internal dialogue, then when we have in our mind the decision of what we want to look like, that dialogue, that mindset gets applied to it. So you're not going to be able to reach it until you deal with the emotions of the inner child and her adaptive mindsets. So when we look at the Lilith placement and we're like, what would it be like if I had a conversation with God? I stuttered because I'm like, this is archetypal intelligence. Whether this happened is neither here nor there. It's the way for us to understand energy. So if we look at our Lilith placement and we see it on the chart, it's going to be in a sign, and then it's also going to be in a house. And the house represents the areas of life that energy is like permeating into. And then the sign is the overall energy that's going on, is like the overall flavor of the energy. And the house is where it is applied to in our life or in our experience. So when we see where that Lilith calculation is, and then we reflect on our experiences as in our childhood experiences, and then we reflect on actually how we feel about our body, it all comes together. So now, instead of dealing with repressed emotions that we have to do so much work to try to get them to come up and have them come up whenever they're ready to come up, we're able to proactively pull them up. So it ends up coming along faster. And there will be times where repressed emotion will just present itself to you, and bravo, because that means that you've been putting in enough work to allow that memory to surface in your mind to be processed. So I wanted to share this with you because this has really changed my life when I decided to have the aesthetic that I want and then face all of the fears that I had about how I was going to be judged, how people were going to shame me, what people were going to think of me, all of those things I had to work through in order to get my body where it is. And that is what we have to do. And when we are thinking about the things that we want, especially in our career and how we want to have impact in the world in a positive way, we have to be bold enough to be the leader and not let anybody criticize what it is that we're doing. And so it's so easy then to use the eating and exercise and our body as the focal point for our energy, because then our energy changes, our life changes, our influence, impact, and power change. And then our body transforms. So it's like, which way do you want to call it? Are you going to do energy work with me to transform your life? Or are you going to do eating and exercise and use energy to transform your body? Like, it's both. It's both. So what I wanted to invite you to is the PHAT Life. The PHAT Life is 6 months if you do it in a group, and it's 12 months if you do it one-on-one. And this Friday, we are going to be diving deeper into this concept about masculine energy and your Lilith placement. So if you join the PHAT Life, it's $555 a month if you do the 6 months. It's $1,500 a month if you do one-on-one. I've got the payment plans. You can also pay in full for both of those. And of course, like, there is some discount for paying in full. So if you do one-on-one with me, you're going to be in a Telegram container Monday through Thursday, in addition to you coming to the Friday group calls. Because the Friday group calls, I'm giving you a deeper training of a topic that I'm mentioning here on Instagram, and you'll be able to have hot seat coaching. So for Friday, if you are like, okay, this sounds great, I want to learn more about masculine energy, we're going to go into your chart. So you're going to have to know your birth date and time and your location, so that we can pull your chart up on the call to look at where your Lilith placement is. And then when we look at where your Lilith placement is and the house of where that energy is most likely affecting your experience, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual. And then when we look at the placement of what part of the zodiac, like what sign it's in, then we get to see the overall flavor of that Lilith placement. Then we get to take a look at your body and what you want and see what kind of limiting beliefs already start to come up that are congruent with your Lilith, because now your Lilith placement is going to give you some context to the suppressed and repressed emotions that are showing up in your eating and your exercise, so that you can move through them. Because we need to get your mind your heart, and your body all going in the same direction, your thoughts, feelings, and actions. So we get to use the actions of your habits to close the gap between the non-physical thoughts and feelings. And as we do that with the food, you are training yourself in all areas of life to have your actions in alignment with your thoughts and feelings. And when you have resistance or sabotage, you are more skilled at understanding what is happening with those sensations so that sabotage doesn't take you out. It is a spark for you to do even more inner work, integration, processing, and ultimately wisdom. So then when you go to follow through with a habit again, you're even more powerful. You become more and more energetically powerful. And because you're using the eating and exercise as your way to train yourself to manifest, your body gets into better shape. Win, win, win. So you can comment below or DM me, and we'll get you started and get you on the Friday call.